Hey everybody, this is Terry Plucknett of the Almost Sideways podcast. You're watching our YouTube channel, and this is a short clip from our podcast. Make sure you find full episodes of our podcast wherever you find your podcasts. We're going to Zach first. Zach, what'd you have to watch?
I had to watch Training Day, which shockingly I have not seen.
Yeah, what's up with that, man?
I will say that I've had tried to watch it a couple times, but as is wont for me, I did doze off or something. I don't know, but I would say it's been at least since 2010 that I've tried to watch it, so it felt pretty fresh this time. It's the movie that won Denzel his Oscars, so it's only fair that I watch it because we love A Beautiful Mind. We talked about the Oscar injustice not giving Russell Crowe the Oscar. I feel like it was reversed. I feel like Denzel should have won an Oscar for Remember the Titans instead of Russell Crowe in 2000, and Russell Crowe should have won in 2001, but whatever. Training Day is an interesting movie, though. I liked it quite a bit. The thing that I liked most about it is it was a movie that had the audacity to be a character study, at least in the first hour, about the two different philosophies of the two main characters, the Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke characters. And there's a couple scenes that really stood out. I love every scene where they're in Denzel Washington's car talking about their different approaches to dealing with criminals, but also what their role is as cops and as drug enforcing detectives or whatever they're trying to do, like undercover detectives. I mean, it's rare to find a cop movie where they actually kind of talk about what their job is and what it isn't. And I really like that. If this had been more of like a My Dinner with Andre style movie, maybe a better example, a Heat coffee scene movie where they're just talking about what their jobs are and aren't, I would have loved that. But of course, we don't live in that world, sadly. The other scene that I thought was a standout was when they go into we talked about great 5-minute performances. There are some good 5-minute performances in this movie. The best one comes from Macy Gray, who I did not realize was that good of an actor. But there's a scene where they go into her house with a fake search warrant. She is amazing in that scene. That should have been like a Beatrice Straight Oscar nomination type. She had the long nails. She was phenomenal in that scene. Like I said, first hour of this movie is very good. A tete-a-tete of two characters. When it turns into the shootout with the Denzel Washington dealing with the Russian mob, give me a break. Come on, that's ridiculous. But it was an entertaining movie up to that point, and it's a solid 3-star movie. And Denzel gave a great acceptance speech at the Oscars. One of my favorite things that he said was, I told my kids if I won, we were going to go home and celebrate, and if I lost, we were going to go home and celebrate, and we're going home and celebrating. I always remember that line. It's a great acceptance speech, so regardless of if I feel like it was deserving over Russell Crowe or not, it was a great moment. And he's a great actor.
Well, I'm glad you liked it. I was prepared for you to actually hate it, but so that's refreshing. I think Ethan Hawke is equally amazing as Denzel in the movie. I think it's Ethan Hawke's second best performance. I think his two best performances were in 2001, and I think he should have been nominated for Best Actor, not for an actor.
I was going to say the same thing. He almost has more screen time than Denzel does in the movie. But
yeah, he's a really complicated character. And I love their back and forth. I mean, it's one of the few times that Eva Mendez doesn't ruin the movie she's in. I don't know.
Dang.
I don't know. Snoop Dogg obviously is great. It's a great movie. There was a time when it was like a top 20 movie for me, but it's not nearly up that far now. But I do love the movie still.
Yeah, it's a great one. It really is. It really is. I still think Russell Crowe should have won, but
yeah,
it's a great movie. All right. Well, I had to watch another movie written by David Ayer, which I find funny that both our movies were written by the same guy.
Yes.
And this one was also directed by David Ayer. It is the 2012 movie End of Watch, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena. And this is another cop movie where they are partners working the beat in like South Central LA. And it's just a look at their day to day and how just because they're working this kind of dangerous neighborhood, they get mixed up into some things that they don't really realize they're getting mixed up into just because they're trying to do their job. They're kind of thrill seekers at the same time, looking for the big sexy cases, the big sexy calls that they need to go investigate. They're definitely kind of feeling this air of invincibility about them. But so much of this movie is just them sitting in their car talking to each other, which is fascinating because these two characters are really, really interesting. More than any other movie, I feel like this movie, the camera is its own character in a lot of ways, like more than I've ever seen in like any other movie. As Jake Gyllenhaal is like saying that he's making a documentary, he's got a project that he's making for a class he's taking, and so he's constantly has a camera in his hands, and they're playing the camera. Sometimes they're explaining things because they've got a camera in their hands, which really adds to it. It's got some really great moments, from the subtle moments of them just having a conversation with each other to where the story ends up going and the dramatic ending. Kind of, the ending could have gone a different way, but it doesn't necessarily ruin the movie. I love this. This was an intense thrill ride of a movie. If I disqualified this from my list because I just watched it and I knew I was going to be talking about it. If I hadn't, it would have been on my list. I'm making it a 4-star movie, and it's cracking my top 10, which means it's making all 4 of our top 10 lists in 2012.
Nice.
It was already in our top 5, and the only reason it wasn't higher is because I hadn't seen it yet. So it's barely cracking my top 10, but it is going to crack my top 10. Awesome movie, really, really good movie. And then you had some subtle performances in there. Early performance from Anna Kendrick. You had David Harbour, who's now a big deal. Frank Grillo, who's always interesting to see in a movie. Before he like jacked himself up for the MCU. And then you got like America Ferrera and Cody Horn in this movie, who are partners that are it's kind of interesting to see in there too. But yeah, Todd told me he was assigning me this movie. He goes, but I don't know where you're going to find it. I said, oh, it's on my movie shelf. It's a DVD I own that I haven't watched yet. And it was like, it was the next one. Like I have like an order of how I watch them. It was the next one on my list that I was going to get to anyway. So it worked out well. So loved it.
Yeah, that movie, it's like the one cop movie that shows like the best, like the brotherhood of being a cop, and like the way you feel for your partner. And like those guys, they live for that shit. Like they are like rocking out going down the highway, just like after they they just make a bust. Like they live for the beat cop life. And I don't know, I love that. I could have been that. That was what I wanted to do when I was a kid. So.
Zach, it looked like you liked this movie too. It's on your top 10 of 2012.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since I saw it in the theater, but I remember really loving it. And yeah, very realistic. It had refreshing in a way that I think it kind of reinvented the genre. It didn't feel like any other cop movie I'd ever seen at that point, but it had, the same sort of compelling relationships that, maybe Lethal Weapon type movies had, but in just a really fresh way. And I remember thinking, David Ayer, man, he is a talent to watch, until he got involved with Suicide Squad.